So I want to just bridging from what we just said to that question. No two people with the same amount of money are going to live their life the same way. They're not going to make the same decisions. So that really points to how personal it is. What matters most to you has to be what drives the conversation, right?
Hey everyone, and welcome. I am Morgan Giss McDonald, founder, CEO of Paper Raven Books, and I have with us today a special guest launching a brand new book. The book is called Financial Insight. Be the author of your life story. And if finances have been a pain point for you, if you want to know how to really live a financially full and fulfilling life, this is going to be the conversation for you to tune into. We're going to have a fantastic deal on this brand new book, and we're talking with the author herself. Now, she is the founder of Financial Insight Training. She is a certified public accountant, and she has a passion for behavioral science, which is a field that examines the relationships between money and psychology. And she's here to bring just a wealth of knowledge and experience to us. And I am so excited to introduce Jodi Carter. Jodi, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Morgan.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the kind of book that when I read your book, I'm like, I want everyone to read this book.
Me
Because
too.
what you're bringing to us is like this entirely new way of really thinking about finances and thinking about wealth. And I'd love for you to just kick us off by telling us a little bit about what's inside of this book. Who'd you write it for? Why'd you write it?
Yeah, you're exactly right. This book is intended to disrupt the way that we are collectively thinking about money, but it's also really personal. So when someone is picking up this book and reading it, they're going to get to think all about themselves. That's really what we want them to do, right? Financial insight is not something I created, it's a discovery. I really came to understand in all of my years working with countless people and being able to look into their lives and see how they were making decisions, what was working and what wasn't working for all different people. And the people that were struggling, which is the majority, right? The minority, very few people feel really comfortable in their finances. Most people, myself included, had to learn everything the hard way. Why? Because no one taught us. This book is about resetting the way that we think and teaching us about our relationship with money and how to figure out where you are right now in your life and how to get you to the place that you want to get to.
Amazing. So Jodi, when you are, I mean, this is your whole sort of like life's work, sort of, pulled together inside of this book. And so when you're working with people in their finances, where do you start with them? Like, what is that initial conversation that you have with people? It starts with someone maybe asking about finances, but I imagine it quickly sort of expands. Where do you take people in that initial conversation?
Yeah, most of the time when people come to me, they're coming with some sort of pain point or question or a decision that they need to make. But I hear a whole bunch of things underneath that. And so I have to kind of pull them back from making the decision too soon, from trying to solve something too soon. We have to step back and understand their relationship with money and the decisions that they've made thus far and where it is that they're trying to get to. So for example, someone will come to me and say, we want to buy a house. Can we afford this house? And I know they're not actually asking me just to do math, right? What they really want is help understanding what their whole lives look like. And one of the mistakes that people make, all of us included in this, is that we think about money as a tool instead of it being woven into every single part of our lives. Every choice is a financial choice. That's kind of jarring when you think about it, right? But try to think of something that isn't a financial choice. And so that means that we have to stop describing our financial lives and talk about our lives. It's really about your whole life.
Give us some example, put some meat on this bone for us. Like
Yeah.
what might this look like? How do we even start to we take a financial question or concern, but we're starting to talk about our whole lives. Like, what does that look like?
So someone will come to me using this example of buying a home. And I may already know from my client relationship with them that they're stressed out in their job. And they're working with a real estate professional who's looking at their financial picture and saying, this is how much house you can afford. And so now they're looking at houses, but they're finding that the ones that are just maybe above that dollar amount are the ones that they're really interested in. But in the back of my mind is, wait, aren't you unhappy in your job? Do you really want to commit yourself to that level? So I have to pull the conversation back and I have to say, hold on. And then we have to start to look at the data itself. Are the dollars that you're thinking about spending really comfortable for you? Or do we need to shift this conversation? There's also a lot of urgency around a decision like that. If you don't make an offer on this house today, it will be gone. But if you're not ready, this is how people make mistakes. And I like to break that word up into mistakes, because when you think about the choices that we make, that we then have to course correct from later in life, it's just like, take two, let's do it again. And so we really want to think about the way that we're going about the decisions. So what I do is I tell people, hold on, we're not ready to make this decision. First, I have to teach you the skills of decision making related to these financial choices.
That's really helpful, I think, especially to use that house buying example, because you're exactly right. It's like you've got, no matter what, it seems like no matter what dollar amount you come into a house buying decision, and, we've bought several houses, in our marriage, and every single time it gets pushed up and over that dollar amount that you set with the real estate agent, and it becomes this like urgent life or death situation. And yes, exactly. Suddenly you're making big financial decisions that then constrain all the decisions that come after it. And so, I mean, that's a fantastic example. And so even in this conversation, I hope that you guys who are here with us and listening and watching, you're hearing this, that relationship between money and psychology, that relationship between money and like you as an individual, which is it's such a powerful conversation. Okay. So Jodi, when we start to learn to think about and be with money in kind of this more life holistic kind of way, how does it change people's relationship with money? Like, what have you seen people be able to how have you seen them live differently with these sorts of principles in mind?
Yeah, great question. So I want to just bridging from what we just said to that question. No two people with the same amount of money are going to live their life the same way. They're not going to make the same decisions. So that really points to how personal it is. Your unique set of ideas and values, what matters most to you, has to be what drives the conversation, right? And this is everything. It's not just the big things like buying a home. It's the little things like your daily coffee as well. Because when someone sits down and says to me, no matter what I do, I can't seem to afford a vacation, we have to look at your spending and see what needs to be adjusted. So financial insight is the alignment of two things. It's your values, the things that matter most to you, and your data, the financial facts. Being able to combine those two things to make good decisions is really what we're trying to get to. So how we get there is that we have to back up the conversation and really look at your relationship. So when you ask, how does it shift the relationship? Only in every way, because all of your thoughts start shifting. So you don't get to that moment where you're going to buy a home and feel pressure, because you already are clear about your values and what matters most to you. So as the real estate professional is starting to show you bigger properties and nicer things, and you're saying, but wait, we are crystal clear that the location is the most important thing, or that the schools are the most important thing, or that the amount of space we have for guests, or that there's a home office, or that it feels cozy to us. Those are the kinds of things that I want you focused on, because otherwise everything just becomes shiny and we get really excited. It's not different for our impulse shopping, right? You go into a store meaning to buy one thing and you leave with 10 things. We all suffer from this. We don't even go into a store anymore. We just scroll on our phone and all of a sudden our cart is full. Part of that is not being clear about who you are and what matters most to you. So that's the clarity that we get, and it changes the way you make decisions for the rest of your life.
And okay, so when we are able to align what we want in life, our values, with what we actually do, how we spend the money, how we make those decisions. I mean, it sounds like you're really helping people to live the life that they actually want with the finances available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is the thing. It feels like we want everything. Like FOMO in this world is epic. What's marketed to us is confusing. We are bombarded with so many shoulds. But if I'm working with you, Morgan, I want to know exactly what you want in your life. And for the person that's listening to this, I want to know what they want in their life. And then I want to help them learn how to make those decisions. And listen, no one taught us how to do this. That's why it's challenging, only because we don't know how. But that's why I wanted to write a book to help people understand how complicated it is. So whatever financial position you're in this moment, you did the very best that you knew how to do. And that's great. We are only starting from today, wherever you are now, to start to shift your way of thinking.
So good, Jodi. And what I love about the experience of reading the book, it feels like a coaching conversation. Like everything that you've been sort of talking us through, this is how I talk clients through this process. Like you guide us sort of chapter by chapter and section by section and really sort of uncovering all these pieces of ourselves. And, you look at sort of even the structure of the book, part one is like your life story and your relationship with money and telling your story. And I love the chapter called adulting, decision-making skills. And then the second part, sort of the chapters in your story, really sort of digging deeper into each of those pieces of the emotional and psychological attachments that you have, that it feels like it's just a money decision, but actually it's a much deeper decision. And, it ends the book with writing your next chapter, really preparing for success and more of that sort of finance and course correcting. And so it's almost like you move us through this process in the pages of the book. What do you hope people get out of the book, Jodi, when they read it?
Yeah. I wanted it to feel that way because I always want everyone to feel like they're getting a big financial hug when they work with me. So I wanted them to really feel first how much I understand exactly where they are. I've been there myself. I've worked with countless people that have been in the same positions. We're all dealing with the same kinds of struggles. We all feel these same feelings, and people don't realize that. They think they're the only one. So first, making sure that they understand they're not alone. Then from there, helping them reset their mind and then giving them next steps. So what I hope is that when someone puts this book down and has finished reading it, that they say, I understand now where I am, and I'm excited about where I'm going. And if they need some help along the way, that they know that they can come to me for the help, that I am going to be there to coach them. And so there's so much information that you can take, but that mind reset and that shifting the way that you think is going to be this eye-opening experience. And, I like to say, once I say these two things to you, you can't unhear them. So be aware when you're reading the book, new ideas are going to be coming and they're going to be popping, and it's really going to have you feel differently about money.
Yes. So if you guys are here with us, you're listening, you're watching, you're nodding along, you're thinking, this is the conversation about money I've always wanted to hear and never really heard someone articulate it like this before. This book is for you. Financial Insight by Jodi Carter is for you. And the good news is we're launching the book. We want to get it out to as many people as possible. That ebook is on promotion right now. So you can actually go to Amazon, download that ebook right now, put it on your Kindle, get it ready for the weekend or your commute ride. And you can get that book by going to paperravenbooks.com/financial insight. That's all one word, financial insight. And we're going to have the link right next to this video. So you click that link, takes you right over to Amazon, grab that ebook right now, load it on your Kindle. Of course, the physical version is available too, if you like it to have on your nightstand, or so you can highlight and write notes in it. Absolutely. But we would encourage you to go ahead and grab a copy of the book while you're here, while you're thinking about it, because this just might be the book that completely changes your relationship with money, which could change everything, right? So, if, as you said, Jodi, if every decision is a financial decision, you really take this book, you work through it, you will be making decisions differently. And every decision that you make could set your life on a trajectory that you had not even imagined. So we would just so encourage you to go ahead and grab a copy of the book, paperravenbooks.com/financial insight, all one word. Jodi, I'm curious, so you're a businesswoman, you're an entrepreneur, you're busy. You run multiple businesses, and it was just basically just a few months ago that you were like, okay, Morgan, I'm ready. We're going to write this book. How do you wrap writing time into your life? Where does it fit in?
It was a little complicated. But when you're excited and motivated about something, you figure it out. So one of the things that I did was I made use of the writing sessions with Paper Raven to get me set and started. And I basically went through, I had created an outline for myself of the big idea, what I wanted to make sure was in the book. And then I just went chapter by chapter, like a free write, and spent the time. And I had no idea how long it would take me to do this. But in each session, I got out at least the bones of a chapter. And then I went back through the entire book again to write more fully and flesh out the ideas and make sure that I was saying everything that I wanted to say in the order that I felt people could receive it. And so, I found it really rewarding. I'm much more used to speaking and coaching and live things. And so the engagement with words in this way was really new for me. But it was just a great experience to be able to think about. As I'm writing, I'm telling stories. So I'm thinking about the people that I've worked with, but I kept thinking about, what if someone that has this situation reads it? What if someone in this situation reads it? And I found myself wanting to think about the folks that were going to have it in their hands. And then I just got so excited and kept writing until it was done.
That's amazing. And you, this is not new content by any stretch, right? Like, as I said earlier, this is like kind of your life's work wrapped up into a book. You've had, probably just thousands and thousands of hours of coaching conversations. You present, you teach, you have courses, just all of this material, all of this raw material. And now you're putting it into one book. Did it change how you think about your material or your philosophy after now on the other side of having written the book?
Yeah, you pointed to the 3 sections of the book. The whole middle section, where I take people through the phases of their lives, that's actually new. I have never taught this before. I have never shared this in this way with people before. It was how I was seeing it, but I hadn't put it into words in a way where I was able to explain it. So that was part of this process for me, was how do I help people understand why they are in the position they are in and where they are? And so that whole middle section is a brand new creation for the book itself.
Wow. Probably something you were doing unconsciously, right? You think
Yes.
about that unconscious competence. It just sort of was riding underneath the conversations you were having, the material you were teaching, but maybe never explicitly sort of pulled out and shaped and put into, as you said, into word form. So good. And that might change how you teach from here on out, how you coach, how you present.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely making a difference, because now, from what I learned in the process of writing out my method in this way, I'm now talking to people and immediately able to identify this is the phase that they're in, and I need to coach them from here. And so, as much as I'm giving this to people, it definitely informed how I'm working with people as well.
So good. So good. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, Jodi. So for folks who are diving into financial insight right now, they're like, okay, I've heard Jodi talk. This is my kind of woman. This is how I want to talk about finances. I'm ready to sort of take a blind faith leap into my relationship with money. What words of advice or wisdom or message would you have folks who are diving into financial insight right now?
When I work with people, one of the first things that I do is ask them about their relationship with money. And I ask them to give me adjectives that explain it. And I talk about this a little bit in the book because most people, I'll say almost everyone, gives me some form of fear, shame, regret, or even in the best of circumstances, uncertainty. So wherever you are when you pick up this book, I want you to be okay with where you are. It is the perfect moment to pick up this book because you feel inspired to do it. The only time that it's really too late to start talking about your finances is tomorrow, right? So when you do it today, trust yourself that this is the moment that you are ready. And then just let this information wash over you and take it in a way that works for you at this time. Every relationship has its ups and downs, right? So we want this to be a moment that you really start to have a better relationship with money, but understand you're going to work on that relationship your whole life. This is a beginning.
So good. Folks, today's the day. You are hearing us and watching us, and you're here with us for a reason. And this might just be the moment that changes your future. So go ahead, grab a copy of Jodi's book, Financial Insight. Go to paperravenbooks.com/financial insight. Click the link right next to this video, take you over to Amazon. Grab that ebook while it's on promotion today, load it up on your Kindle, get it ready for this weekend or this evening or right now. And also the physical version's available as well if you want that for your nightstand copy. And if you know anyone who maybe would be inspired or helped or encouraged by this conversation, please share it with them. You can tag them, you could send it to them privately with a message, but this is a great way to encourage people in your life who maybe you've had this kind of, maybe even just the inklings of this conversation with. Money's very, we feel it's private and personal. A lot of us carry a lot of baggage around it. But what if we could all experience this kind of conversation with money? How much of a difference would that make for our lives, our relationships with each other, the community around us, the world around us? So definitely encourage you guys, grab a copy, share it with someone you know and love. Jodi, any last words for us?
I just want everyone to feel really comfortable with this. So let yourself dive in and, just trust yourself and trust. I've been through this with enough people. I do know what you're thinking. There's going to be moments you'll be like, how did she know I was thinking that? So I'm along for the ride.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Jodi. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Dive into financial insight, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.